express myself in such a aggressive form and maybe brutally aggressive just a few seconds ago is because, see, back when I was over education for the state of Florida, and I was telling black colleges that I knew, I had meetings calling most of the education advisors and vice presidents in the universities all throughout the South to meet with me. So I was trying to tell them, you got to change your mode of operation, and started doing something now through these institutions strictly and solely for black folk. That's what you came into existence for. Now, why would you want?
Oh, damn.
If you've ever been on the HBCU campus, you probably get why I'm laughing, because he's talking about doing something strictly for black folk.
Especially nowadays.
Well, and it made me stop it so quick because from my experience on HBCUs, and not all the people, but a lot of people who are in positions of power will go out of their way to please white people and make white people happy or to meet white standards. And I've seen that firsthand. I'm on the HBCU campus and I'm seeing staff and professors trying to mold black students to be more palatable for white people. So trying to mold black students to be more palatable for white spaces instead of encouraging black students and showing black students how to flourish in black spaces, create black spaces, and enhance black spaces. And so that's why I'm stopping it right here, because I'm with him on this. Like we don't, most of the people who I went to an HBCU with, to say that they were a culture into learning more about what it is to be a black person in America is laughable. That's laughable for most of the people that I went to an HBCU with. Now, there are some who got that information because they willingly went and got the information. Some of them got it by proxy, just by being in the surrounding areas or in the environment. But for the most part, HBCUs are not doing stuff strictly for black people. For one, some of these HBCUs can't, because they state-run institutions like mine, and I always call them WHBCUs because they take white money and white people run them anyway. So some of them can't do that because the money not going to allow them. The other ones won't do that because they still trying to appease white people. That's just what I want to say about that. Y'all want to add to it?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Pack. I mean, y'all got the background of actually going on the campus. I know from other experiences. So you go ahead, Pat. I come in.
No, I was just gonna say, in addition to that, a lot of them now, because they're so disconnected from the community, you know, they're like, when I'm thinking about Johnson C. Smith here. Yeah, I'm calling out names in Charlotte.
I was talking about FAMU.
Where, you know, a couple of years ago, I heard them on radio, one of their administrators on a radio station, talking about how they were actively going after Hispanic students and Latino students and other non-black students to fill out their roles. And when asked why, it was very short, non-detailed answer was given, which was, we don't have enough black students. Now, you know, there was no real detail given behind that answer. The person doing the interview didn't push them on why you don't have more black students, or, well, if you don't have enough black students, why wouldn't you go after black students? We are in Charlotte. There's a sizable black population here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Yes. None of those questions were asked. It was just, we don't have enough black students, so we're going to go after these other students. And it was a conversation centered around diversity and education. And that's a whole nother conversation.
So there was a real HBCU, Hispanically Black College and University.
I think they're trying to remove the black out of it. And
I'm just saying, but for right now, though, you know.
Oh yeah, for right now. And the reason I say that, and I know a lot of HBCU graduates, they get bothered with me, and I've had a beef with HBCUs for a while now for a number of reasons. But the fact of the matter is, all of them are trying to be like the prominent PWIs, which means that it's only a matter of time before they're trying to get rid of their black population too.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. You know, and Joe, you hit on it. The HBCUs, a lot of people don't really know the history of HBCUs and how they actually got started. A lot of the HBCUs got started, around the time when you had so-called white philanthropists looking for places to educate their half-black offspring. And that's where you got these foundries and foundations. And there's the story about J.D. Rockefeller's famous train traveling. He went on this trip, I believe it's through the I-95 corridor, in which he just started plucking off different spaces to house and create HBCUs and to fund them. And that's why when you go to a lot of HBCUs, they're named after their white benefactors.
Yeah.
So a lot of these colleges, they didn't start off for the place to be a bastion of intellect for Black people. It was more about controlled opposition. So, you have the brown paper bag test. You had the whole concept around the talented 10th, all these particular notions that came, these are derived, specifically and baked into these HBCUs. And so they were never institutions that were supposed to empower the Black community. Now, what I think Dr. Claude Anderson was really speaking to is, now that you have these institutions, why not blacken them? Why not use them to create a wealth, a bastion of wealth within the Black community? And I think that's one of the things that when you look at it now, the only thing the blackest thing about most HBCUs is the band. You know what I'm saying? That come out in halftime. Other than that, they have grooming academies. And I know specifically Howard University used to have a standard in which if you were in the business school, you had to cut off your hair and have traditional haircuts. And when I say traditional haircuts, that means if you had braids, if you had twists, you have locks, you had to cut those off. And then ladies could not wear locks. They could not braid their hair. They had to have sort of like manicured perms and things of that nature. So when you really look at it, they were truly grooming Black people Black students to fit in to the corporate world, the corporate environment that's not run by Black people. There's never been an autonomous movement. And one of the biggest reasons why is that you can't seem to find enough Black people to fund the schools to begin with. And then once the funding is there, there's always some kind of controversy with certification or money management. So there's a lot to be unpacked with this conversation. But I agree with Dr. Claude that we've missed several opportunities to create a class of educated Black folk that can come back and actually do something well for the community.
See, what you're speaking to now is what I've noticed and what I call the cycle of fucked up. In general terms, or in better terms, I say the cycle of messed up for us. So there are a lot of people who went to HBCUs who are frustrated, disenchanted, and they are not giving back to the HBCUs. They will not, because their experience was not favorable. And they will not give back. Some of them can't give back. But so you have people who are angry at the HBCU who didn't have a good experience, but the individual is not supporting the school. The school is not supporting the individual. The staff is not supporting the school. The teachers are not supported by the staff. The teachers don't support the staff. The staff don't support the teachers in the school. The community is not supporting the school staff, the teachers, and the students. School staff, teaching, and the students not supporting the community. It's a cycle. All of these people find something to hang on to negatively to not support the other entity in this. And there's no continuity. So because there's no continuity in this, you got this cycle of fucked up that's going on, and that's why most people. Because even if you can't, if you're not in a position to give back financially, there are other ways to give back to HBCUs: time, resources, information, education, all those different things. Go ahead.
It's funny you mentioned that because we used to do this thing here in Philly with a couple brothers. It's called the Block by Block Black Captains, and one of the things we did was have a play day for the children in a park out West Philly. It was Carroll Park, out 48th and Girard. So anybody from Philadelphia, especially people who in the West Philadelphia area, they know what we're talking about. Talking about in that park, which is littered with violence, and the neighborhood is just riddled with, you know, shootouts and things of that nature. But on this particular day, this Sunday, the Sundays that we were out there, they were the gangsters and the drug dealers would sort of like call a truce, and they would actually help us maintain, you know, the safety of the children on those particular days. Well, when our program stopped, you know, we couldn't get the funding or we couldn't get volunteers. Villanova University adopted that park. And one of the programs that happened with Villanova University is they had their people come out, clean up the park. They had their people change around, you know, and upgrade all of the equipment and, you know, the swings, the monkey bars and sand pits and all those other things. And they made it their commitment to be at that park every weekend. We don't see commitments like that from HBCUs. We don't see HBCUs taking their class and volunteering. And for people who just say, Les, I hear what you're saying, Joe, about the lack of resources and the lack of civic pride. But I see a lot of people who come to the defense of HBCUs, said they're HBCU graduates, and I've never seen an empty HBCU homecoming. You know what I'm saying? So
we ain't got to go that far. You ain't got to go that far. If you buy your luxuries, if you have luxuries in life, if you all your Gucci, your Louis, matter of fact, all the white name brands that you went to your HBCU to get your degree, to get a good job, so you can buy the white name brands, which is still a part of that cycle.